pleased to have on the Rich Eisen Show A.J. Hawk. How are you, A.J.?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Rich.
I am doing fine. So I'd love to start with the news that just came out of your alma mater. That it's fresh. It's a half-hour old, where 4 players suspended, including Joey Bosa, who I'm sure you know very well, and how effective he is. What are your thoughts on this, with Ohio State having to do this for whatever reason for the opener against Virginia Tech, A.J.?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's obviously not something they want to hear back in Columbus right now. But yeah, it's surprising. I literally just heard about 5 minutes ago, and to be traveling to Virginia Tech on the road week 1 to try to right the ship for what happened last year against them. It's gonna be tough not to have those guys. And Joey Bosa, I mean, that guy's, I think, a top 5 pick for sure. So he, I don't know, shocking. It's going to be rough, but Urban Meyer knows how to rally the guys.
And just from your position, who do you think should be at the quarterback position for week 1 in that game, AJ?
Man, what a question. See, I honestly, before Braxton made the switch, I called for Braxton. I said I would like to see him in there because he's a fellow Dayton, Ohio, 937 area code guy like myself, so I was more of a hometown homer for that one. But I don't know. It's tough to not play the guy that won the national championship for you with Cardell Jones. So I would say Cardell probably under center, but we never know. I guess it'll all kind of fold.
Well,
see what happens during camp.
Yeah, and you've seen from your position in the National Football League what it takes to be a high-level quarterback at this level. Were you surprised that Braxton said, I'm going to do this right now, as opposed to go into the battle for the position here and show up at the combine at some point and say, I'm a quarterback?
Yeah, that's what makes me think, and I don't have any insider info. I wish I did. I live in Columbus in the off season, but I don't get down to the facility very often. But it just makes me think that his arm or his shoulder hasn't healed the way that he would want, and that he won't be ready to throw. Once the first week of training camp comes up, he won't be able to throw the way he knows he needs to. So that's what it makes me think of, and I'm sure he's talked to some outside people that let him know that, hey, you have a great chance of becoming an NFL receiver, slot back, whatever. And so I think just opens his options up a little more.
I'm on the phone with A.J. Hawk, Bengals linebacker here on the Rich Eisen Show. It's interesting you used the phrase about righting the ship when you talked about Ohio State, since the reason why I bring that up is it true you were on a ship with Ohio State people when you found out that the Packers were parting ways with you, AJ?
Well, I was going, the Ohio State, the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer. It was Urban Meyer and Shelley Meyer that was benefiting their foundation, and a bunch of us former players go on it. And, actually, shortly before I left, I knew that they were going to be releasing me, but they're a class organization, and they didn't want me to be out there to see and have 2,500 Ohio State fans asking me what happened if they saw it on a TV or something. So they actually waited until we got back, and we actually got stuck at sea a few extra days.
I remember that.
So they waited even longer and before they did it. So that was definitely on my mind when I was out there, and I didn't want other people to feel weird because I already knew what was happening.
What's it like being marooned with Meyer, AJ? What's that like?
I tell you what, it's weird being on a big cruise ship, literally sitting still, anchored for a day and a half, basically. And you could tell Coach Urban Meyer's an intense guy. Anyone that's been around him knows that. And he handled it very well. I was actually I was impressed by how he handled it, because I knew he needed to get back and talk to his recruits and talk to the team and really get back to their winter conditioning.
Yeah, no, but coaches always say, you can control only what you can control. And it's tough, though, for control freaks to put that into practice like that, AJ, right?
It's very tough. And trust me, if we would have been sitting out at sea maybe 2 more hours, I think you'd have seen Urban banging on the cockpit door like the Somali pirates with taking Tom Hanks over. I think he would have started the engine up to try to get us in.
A.J. Hawk joining me here on the program. So what is it like with the Bengals now, just being in a different spot after 9 years with Green Bay, A.J.?
Oh, it's definitely adjustment. It's definitely different. I've been in one spot for 9 years in Green Bay, and one of the greatest organizations ever in the history of pro sports. So I'm going to miss those guys, and I love everybody there. But I grew up about 45 minutes from Cincinnati, and kind of like this was my team growing up, and I've always wanted to find a way to get back here, and now I am, and got to do the off-season program with them, and just felt right at home, honestly, right away. And Coach Marvin Lewis and my linebacker coach Matt Burke, just great guys, and there's a real close locker room here that I think I felt from day one. So it's been fun so far. It really has.
Well, as you know, it's been very difficult for Cincinnati to get over the playoff hump, and by that I mean just win one of them. So, what do you think you can bring on that front with your playoff history, AJ?
Well, I mean, I've been lucky enough to, like you said, play in Green Bay for 9 years and play with some unbelievable players. So yeah, we've been moving to the playoffs a bunch. I mean, I didn't want to come in here and act like I was the old grizzled vet that could give them had all the answers, because I definitely don't have all the answers. So I came in here trying to learn from these guys and learn a different approach, and at the same time stay consistent with the approach that's got me this far. But I don't know. I'm always here to if anyone needs to lean on me, because I'm always leaning on these guys, asking them about the new scheme and everything. So I think the more guys you have that have some experience and have been there, it can only help. It can't hurt you.
Did you talk about the national championship with Paul Dawson, TCU, who thinks that his school deserved to get the shot instead of you in the Final Four? AJ, have you had that conversation?
A little bit maybe we did, but that's the thing about Paul and these young guys. Rich, I was in college 10, 11 years ago. They have no idea I went to Ohio State. So unless I'm wearing the Block O shirt into the locker room, these guys don't know where I went. They were like in third grade when I was playing college football. So you have to let them know.
So what do you think of this young kid, Paul Dawson, AJ?
Oh, I like him. He came in. I actually saw him when he visited before the draft. He came in. I talked to him for a while in the weight room, in the locker room, and we talked about football and kind of talked about where he was at in Texas and what he was doing. So it was when I saw he was drafted, we instantly kind of texted back and forth. And he's a guy with a lot of talent and explosive player, and I think it's going to be fun for him to get back on the field with the pads on and see how it goes.
But of course, the TCU guy that's front and center there, being Andy Dalton. What can you tell me about this guy that has the rep of when the lights come on, he can't do it, AJ? I mean, it sounds unfair to say something like that about a professional and somebody who has been as successful as him, but the numbers in the playoffs back it up, AJ. What can you tell me about Andy Dalton and that
Well,
rep?
the thing that I've so being in Green Bay for so long, I kind of lived in a bubble and didn't really pay attention to anything going on outside of there. So I don't know a lot of the ins and outs of what's happened on a lot of other teams and when whatever. I kind of kept an eye on the Bengals, but all I could tell from Andy from right off the bat, he's a guy that actually you want to do well. I'm sure you've been around guys like that where they're just good guys, good people, work hard, do the right thing. And so, from day one, I felt myself rooting for him and seeing how well he does in practice and how he leads the team. It's just fun to be around a guy like that. So, just from the little bit I've been here, honestly, he's got the good. He knows what it takes, and it's just for this whole team, we just got to find a way to kind of play our best football when late in the season.
Now, I know you've got no stake in this Deflategate stuff, AJ. So, just from a player, a longtime veteran of this game, just on the outside looking in, what do you think about what's happening between the NFL and your players' union over Brady?
I mean, I think it's taken over the world right now, isn't it? I'm sure you've had to talk about it a bunch.
My gosh.
I wish at some point, someday, I think we'll get to hear everything. Right now it's like the NFL wants to put out the information they want to put out, and then the RPA is going to try to counter that and let them know what the truth is, from our side. So I don't know where I'm at with it, just because I try not to pay attention to the headlines, because it's true. It's like we don't know exactly. They're trying to craft. Both sides want to craft what happened, and I give with a guy like Tom, I think our union backs him 100%, and he's not backing down, which is something that, whether you like it or you think it's right or wrong, you have to respect the guy that's not going to back down. If he says, I'm not guilty, and he's going to stick with his story.
All right, now let's talk about the real elephant in the room before I let you go, AJ, and that is one James Harbaugh coming back to Ann Arbor to breathe life and wins into the Maize and Blue program. AJ, do you hear footsteps right now?
Do you think I should hear footsteps, Rich?
Oh, yes.
You're a Michigan guy. Well,
yeah.
What I think it's great. Yeah, the Big Ten needs Michigan to get back on track. But what I was excited about when I saw Harbaugh down there in his khakis and shirtless playing football with his high school teams, I was thinking this is good. Maybe we can get him and Rich to start a team together, and so you guys will be the skins, shirts and skins. You and Harbaugh versus the high schooler.
Okay. All right, AJ. I see. You know what? All the Ohio State people, I just walked into that like, we can't. It'd be good for the Big Ten to have Michigan back. It'd be good for the rivalry to have Michigan back. It's cyclical, AJ, right? I mean, there's some times when Ohio State,
Yeah, there's some times where unfortunately, John Cooper was a great coach, but
Yeah, right.
he kind of got the best of him. That's why he wasn't able to stay there longer. But that's how it goes. And so right now, Ohio State's been on top, and I guess that's why you hear the Ohio State guys talking.
That's right. AJ, thanks for calling in. I look forward to having you back on.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. I'd love to come back.
You bet.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.